Welcome to the Political Matrix News. We have the sources, we have the truth from inside the political matrix.
Welcome back to the Political Matrix News podcast. I'm Greg Fink here, joined tonight with Mike Bates. How you doing, Mike?
I'm doing well, Greg. Thank you.
Well, that's good. How's real quick? Were you able to stay warm with the cold weather over there?
We're still having cold weather. My office is in Pensacola, and we got a record. Well, last night it was saying 5 inches, but I've seen reports today it was 8.5. I had 3.5 where I am, but my area that I measured was also on the leeward side of the building, and so we probably had a lot more snowfall out in the open fields around me. But I haven't been to those open fields to measure. So
I think some people in Crestview had around a foot of snow.
I would suspect they counted that from drifts, but either way, a lot of snow. I mean, without question, It's a record breaker for Florida in recorded history. A lot of snow.
We're going to see some photos over here real quick. We're going to throw up real quick on the screen. And this is a global change, a global warming, guys. Climate change. And this is what Trump did to it. Pretty cool, isn't it?
Yeah, well, they did say that if Trump made it back in office, that would be when hell freezes over. So
hell's freezing over for sure. I mean, I think Louisiana hit a record of all time as well. Their record for New Orleans was 2.9 inches, and they hit 10 inches of snow in New Orleans, or 9.5 inches, something like that.
Yeah, I got friends in New Orleans who texted me saying how much they got. I was amazed. It was 10 inches where they were.
Yeah, Mobile got 9 inches, 10 inches, and Baton Rouge got around 13 inches, something like that.
I have friends in Lafayette who she got, I swear she said it was well over 13. It was an astonishing amount.
It's huge. Yeah. So, I mean, and this is all happening, and people are getting used to not going to work for a couple of days, and now that, if they had a job that had anything to do with DEI, they might not be going back to work for a long time.
Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, Donald Trump put the DEI people in the administration across all departments on paid leave. Now, clearly, I'd rather have been unpaid, but he's taking this few steps at a time. And they are on unpaid leave with the intention of eliminating their positions entirely. And that's a good thing because DEI needs to
Yes. I mean, the whole idea here that we have this wonderful concept of an efficient government being ran in such a non-efficient manner. That's got to stop.
Well, the problem is that with the diversity, equity, and inclusion are wonderful things when they happen naturally. I mean, I love it when there's diversity in the workforce. I love it when we include people in the workforce, as long as it's a meritocracy. Now, equity, by definition, is forced, so I'm always opposed to equity. Equality is a good thing, and although those words sound very similar, they are not synonyms at all.
No, they're not.
And so DEI does need to end, and I think it's an unconstitutional thing anyway. We should be a meritocracy in this country, and Donald Trump made quite clear that he's going to make it so. Now, there are going to be lawsuits. As we all know, it is very difficult to terminate federal government employees.
It is.
But the angle he's taking here is not firing the employee. It's eliminating the position they're in.
Right. And
I think that's going to be a much easier path to eliminating the person than it would be if they were just simply fired and replaced by somebody else and told to not do a DEI role, right?
Right.
Because if you eliminate the position, it's going to be different.
Yeah, they're also trying to make sure it does not get absorbed into the HR department in some other name or some other manner.
Well, that did happen in the waning days of Biden administration. That is what happened. A lot of DEI employees got pushed into HR with a different title.
And they said if that happens, all hell is going to break loose. They said they are not going to have that, and they are going to investigate it and also hold those accountable who are doing that, because that's more or less a violation of the order, and it's fraud. I mean, at the end of the day.
Well, Trump's not going to put up with a bunch of shenanigans by these people. I mean, in his first term, he did in a lot of ways because he had terrible advisors. He had advisors who were not on his side. He had literally enemies in his camp.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to make that mistake again.
No.
He's surrounded now by people who believe in his agenda, who are going to implement his agenda. and he's not going to be obstructed from within the way he was in his first term. Now, that doesn't mean there's not going to be lawsuits. We all know there will be. Depending on which judges get those cases, well, it may get delayed a little bit. But in the end, I think Trump will prevail, and America will be better off because of it.
I think so. And I think the entire move that he's holding to his word and proving to everybody that he's holding to his word in a very rapid and abrupt and public manner is great. I mean, it's not like he's kicking the can down the road like everybody else always does in D.C. But he's he's taking it to them right now, and it's gonna be it's interesting to watch.
Yeah. Well, the left is already crying about it. I mean, as you know, I spend more time on left-wing news than I do right-wing news, and HuffPost is crying about it, and Rachel Maddow is in tears, and the whole MSNBC crew is just fit to be tied, which I find, quite honestly, amusing and entertaining.
It is. Because, I mean, it has to be done. I mean, everybody's been talking about it. I mean, they got rid of affirmative action, which is the ugly sister of DEI, 15, 20 years ago. Then they recreated it in this wonderful, 3-letter acronym that everybody could wrap their heads around, or they thought they could, because it was so simple. Well, it's not so simple.
Well, most people are in favor of diversity.
Exactly.
Most people are in favor of inclusion, and most people are in favor of equality. The problem is the E doesn't stand for equality, it stands for equity, but because they're so similar, people think they mean the same things.
Exactly.
And so people who don't know what the words really mean, they're in favor of it. When what it really is lawful discrimination.
It's a huge deception game is what it was.
It is judging people not by the content of their character, but by the color of their skin, how their plumbing works, and who they have sex with.
Right.
And that's not a meritocracy. And that's not what America should be. And under Trump, that's not what America's going to be. He's going to end all that crap.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be putting an end to all that. And I mean, right now, we have, the billionaires in the tech world out there arguing over who's going to, win in the AI fight or the AI battle of investing the most money. They're like trying to outbid each other. And that's actually the kind of action he's looking for, is people who want to invest their money and their hard work and their employees into making America great again. I mean, that's based off their merit, not off DEI. There's a large list of private companies that got rid of DEI as well. Meta is one of them. Alphabet's one of them. Zoom is one of them. I mean, there's like 70 or 80 publicly traded companies who got rid of DEI in a very rapid fashion in the last couple of weeks.
But there's also a lot who have chosen not to. They've made the deliberate decision not to. But they're private companies. If they want to do it, that's up to them, although I do still think it's unlawful because it is discrimination. And I think that the courts need to come in and put an end to it, because the straight white guy has as much right to the job as the black lesbian who was actually born a man. Okay?
Right.
And so I think there can be lawsuits, discrimination lawsuits, based upon proving that people were hired not on their abilities, but because of their identity. And that's not legal in the United States, no matter what we call it. But it's going to take time for that to weave its way through the courts.
Right. It's going to take a little bit of time for all that. I mean, right now, the biggest company who's keeping DEI is Apple. And so Apple's...
No surprise there.
I mean, but, I guess the whole idea, though, with Apple is that most people are addicted to their Apple. And so most people are not going to leave Apple to go anywhere else. I mean, all of us Mac users are kind of like addicted to everything in Mac.
Well, and let's not forget that the CEO of Apple is a very hardcore lefty and a homosexual. So
he's an Alabama guy from Mobile.
Okay, well, I was unaware of that. Either way, I mean, he is in the protected class that DEI is looking to benefit. So I'm not surprised that he favors D.
But, the strange thing about Tim Cook is that he is not an Ivy Leaguer. You know where he went to school?
No idea.
Auburn.
Okay, didn't know that, but okay.
Regular good old SEC gay guy. And so, I mean, he's doing a really good job with running Apple. However, you're correct. I mean, there is more of a liberal slant there with the management of Apple.
Right.
But that's really interesting little tidbit about him. But yeah, so I mean, it's going to be very interesting on how it's all going to be handled. It's all started today, this afternoon, just like 6 or 7 hours ago before this podcast. So we're going to see what kind of hell breaks loose over the next week with this, and it's going to be a long fight. But like I said before in the earlier segment, I think Trump is not really worried about the long fights. He's trying to make them all very quick, very abrupt, and knock them out and move to the next project. So.
He's come out of the gate fast, and he's going to go fast, and I think we're going to see the standard benchmark of 100 days. I think we're going to see a lot accomplished.
I think we're going to see probably in his first 100 days what most people do in their first 1,000 days.
Yeah, that might be a little optimistic, but either way.
Optimistic, but I think that the, one thing Larry Kudlow said today on Fox News was that, the PMN, the executive order power, is going to give him a lot more power just to go around Congress whenever, just to get things done, just to get it going. Because he does not have the patience nor the time to sit here and wait for the government bureaucracy to churn everything through, to get everything fixed very quickly before it all goes downhill pretty quick.
Well, and what he can lawfully do via executive order, that's great. But I don't want to see him doing things through executive order that he cannot lawfully do. Barack Obama did. Joe Biden did. I don't want Donald Trump doing it. I criticize Obama and Biden for doing it. And if Donald Trump tries to pull that, I will criticize him as well. Because while executive orders are perfectly legitimate ways of governing, they still have to comport with the constitutional limitations of the office.
Yeah.
And so, sure, use executive orders where appropriate, but don't abuse executive orders where not appropriate.
Right,
and one of them that I think is inappropriate, but I'm so glad he did it, and it's going to be ultimately up to the Supreme Court, is his desire to end birthright citizenship. The 14th Amendment, at least if you are a textualist, it appears to say you're born in the U.S., you're a U.S. citizen, end of story, unless you're, diplomatic family. And so I don't see him winning that, but I'm so glad he has started the fight, because the Supreme Court has never ruled on that. And let's get a definitive ruling. Now, I think the definitive ruling will ultimately be, no, born in U.S. soil, you're a citizen. Okay, well, at least we'll know. But I do applaud him trying, because we know that has been abused.
Yes, it has been. And so, I mean, we're going to see a lot of things here in the next couple of weeks. And so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here real quick for this segment here of the Political Matrix News. Thank you guys for joining us here tonight. And Mike, let's try this again here next week.
Sounds good, Greg. Thank you.
No problem. I'll talk to you soon.